Hello everyone, thank you again for joining us today. Before we begin, just a final reminder that everyone has been muted on entry, so please send any questions through to the Hays WebEx host and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. And now, to get started, I'll hand it over to Andy Robling.
Thank you, and hi everyone. Thank you for joining our session today, which is a look at recruitment best practice, specifically navigating the digital world in order to attract the best talent in a very competitive marketplace, and also thoughts on how to retain your very best talent. Today's webinar is based on the key findings from our What People Want report. We'll also be looking at some of the most relevant headlines from our 2017 salary guide, the Hays Global Skills Index, and also our FIT series. So quick introduction, I'm Andy Robling, and with over 25 years experience with Hays as a recruiter and having worked with clients in most industries, sectors and functions, it's clear that the better aligned a company is with the needs and wants of its workforce, the faster they grow and the better their results. It's something that I'm very passionate about and spend most of my time here talking with clients, hiring managers and internal recruitment teams who are looking for ways to stand out when recruiting, especially when competing for talented candidates in a tight market. Before we get to what you can do to attract the best talent, we'll look at some of the issues facing Canadian employers more generally. This presentation is based on, as I said, a few recent reports, including the 2017 salary guide and our FIT reports from last year. But the main report we're looking at today is the What People Want report. This surveyed more than 5,000 professionals across Canada to find out what their priorities were when looking for a job. We broke this information out across 12 featured industries and functions, including HR, accounting and finance, and IT. And the survey asked about things like compensation, what an ideal job looks like, and what career progression means to Canadians. But as I said, before we get to the meat of that report, excuse me, I'd like to review a few findings from our 2017 Hays Canada Salary Guide to show why this issue should be front of mind for all HR managers and employers. The skill shortage is still affecting most Canadian industries to varying degrees, and being able to attract the right candidates is crucial for immediate and also future business success. In terms of the skill shortage, 58% of employers surveyed said that Canada has a skill shortage, and also that 67% of them said the skill shortage affected their industry directly. As a follow-up, we asked what people felt was the main reason, or the main reasons for this shortage, and also whether this had actually changed versus the previous year. Now, there's not much difference year on year, some slight variance. Slightly more employers are pointing the finger at issues such as people not entering their particular industry, people relocating, and also people leaving their industry. Our Global Skills Index also recently highlighted the talent mismatch as a serious concern in Canada. We have the people, but we don't necessarily have the skills. Although slightly fewer employers focus their blame on lack of training than last year, it is clearly a significant issue, and our Global Skills Index also identifies implementing targeted training as a top priority. So training and professional development remains probably the best way to address the skill shortage, and as we'll also see, it's crucial to retention as well. In terms of what our clients and what employers are doing to address the skill shortage, employers are using different tactics to attract staff and then different tactics to retain them. Let's look at some of the figures from the salary guide. Excuse me. To attract talent, companies put salary first and foremost, and you'll see training and professional development coming forth on the list. I think we say this every year, but it's clear that whilst market rate is important, only one company can actually pay top dollar. So you may have to be able to compete on other things, such as promoting company culture, offering competitive benefits packages, or offering training and professional development. The least two common attraction tools are promoting career progression and also training and development. And that's interesting when we asked employers what had the biggest negative impact on retention. Number one reason was career progression, or as this plays out, lack of career progression. This is followed by the competitive market for top talent, i.e. how they keep others from poaching their top talent. And then salaries actually come in third, and everything else really drops off. It's not nearly as important. So people are leaving jobs because they're not getting career progression, and the people leaving for that reason are likely to be your best people because they're ambitious, and your competitors may look like they have a better offer for them. Interestingly, the employers cite learning and development as having a low impact on the ability to retain staff. However, we would challenge this view as we actually see it as an integral part of career progression. However one interprets the data, the question always needs to be asked about whether you're doing enough to retain your very best people. And you need to be working to keep them, because the majority of people are not actively satisfied in their role. We asked if people are happy in their role, and it's encouraging that 48% say they're satisfied, but the rest, 52%, are either not satisfied or at best feel neutral towards their job. And we asked subsequently if you were considering leaving your current role. Only 22% said they are unlikely to consider leaving. 54% said they are likely to consider leaving, and 24% feel they're neutral, which means if the right opportunity came along, they would most likely consider it. We choose to interpret this as saying that 78% of people are open to opportunities, and the 24% neutral constitutes what would commonly be known as passive job seekers. So to sum up, people are open to moving, which is encouraging if you're hiring, but also stresses the importance of knowing what you are selling. It also stresses the importance of keeping close to your staff and ensuring their needs are being met. And that leads us to two big questions, which are how you attract top talent and how do you retain top performers. So let's look at some of the detail from our What People Want report. The starting point for this report was a survey to find out how much influence different criteria had on a person's decision when evaluating a job opportunity or whether to stay with a current employer. We identified 4 key elements of any opportunity in people's decision making, and they are compensation, benefits, including health, car allowance, and we've also included vacation in benefits, career growth opportunity, and then company reputation or company culture, and we'll talk a little bit about the difference between the two. So when considering a new job opportunity, how much influence does each element have? The most influential element is compensation, and it accounts for 45% of the decision, which is, it's not a surprise. We rarely see people not putting compensation at the top of their list when you ask them about a potential job offer. The other criteria grouped as benefits, career growth, and company reputation make up the rest and account for 55% of the decision. So despite the fact that compensation is the single most influential criteria, the others collectively have more weight, which again makes sense. If you're not keen on the benefits package, the growth opportunity, or the reputation of a company, they still matter when weighing up against salary itself. And in our experience, if one takes an offer purely based on the money alone and the other elements are not satisfactory, things usually don't work out that well. If we then look at how an individual makes the decision to stay in their current role, this is how they're influenced by those key elements. Compensation becomes less important, dropping from 45 to 40%, and the impact of company culture increases by a corresponding amount from about 16% to almost 21%. And there's a number of reasons for this. It may just be that it's easier to stay with your current employer than it is to move. Familiarity, personal relationships in business do count as much as fear of the unknown in a new role or in a new company. And when moving, money and also benefits are the only tangibles that you can be sure will work out as promised. So when hiring a new person, salary is obviously important to get them to accept, but in order to retain them, you need to have a good offering on benefits, career growth, and company culture. So this isn't just about completing the deal, but when they start, company culture and potential to progress will quickly become more important factors. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at each of these key elements in more detail. We wanted to take a dive a little bit deeper into compensation and test how important it is and whether people are willing to give up some level of compensation for improvements in other areas. Performance incentives, as it turns out, are a major factor. These are obviously related to what people take home at the end of every 2 weeks, but we've distinguished here between base salary and other incentives. So 60% of the people we surveyed said they would take up to a 20% cut in their base salary if they were given the opportunity to potentially earn more through performance-related bonus. And also, performance-related bonuses are the #1 required benefit by people, according to our survey. So people are willing to accept some risk if there is also potential upside. And this is interesting because an organization could reduce their base salary costs and invest in an improvement in productivity driven by performance-related bonuses. Performance-related bonuses can be a very effective tool, but the setting of measurable objectives in the first place is the most important element to ensure you get a return on that investment. But compensation can only take you so far. And as we said, only one company can actually pay the most in any given market. But interestingly, 3/4 of employees said that they would take a reduction in compensation for their ideal job. And we drill down in this to this a little bit more. 1/3 said they would take a pay cut of up to 10%, and that's significant. But even more interesting is that 38% said they would take a cut of more than 10%, and 13% would take more than 20%. So the message here is that yes, you need to compete on compensation, but you can do it in a smart way because it's not just about who has the highest base number. So as well as performance bonuses, instead of just worrying about meeting market rate, you can use bonuses to incentivize and also be open to negotiating benefits and perks to sign the top candidate that you want. So beyond compensation, the next measure that we looked at was career progression. And we asked people about their career aspirations. 77% of the professionals that we surveyed said they want to at least reach a senior management level. 87% said that training and professional development are important in their view for not only making their decision whether to accept a job or also whether to stay with a company. And we know that career progression doesn't always mean promotion. A lot of people are looking for new challenges and different opportunities for learning and growth. We looked at this earlier when we asked employers about investment and learning and how investment in learning and development impacts on retention. Most employers say that it has a limited impact, and interestingly, only 37% of employers say they offer training and certification support. And about the same proportion say they are promoting career progression to attract candidates. I think this says that there is a huge opportunity for a company who can actually show their succession plan to potential hires and show that there are future opportunities in the company, this is definitely one way that you will stand out as an employer in a competitive market. The key message here is that people are ambitious and they do want progression in their career. If you can provide clear, consistent opportunities for growth, then you will be able to not only attract, but also retain the very best talent. Considering how ambitious people are telling us, on the one hand, it's interesting to look at the fact that 60% of professionals would take a step down in terms of seniority for a role with the right compensation, benefits and company culture. If people are ambitious for their careers, why would they take a step down for other things? If you just hold on to that thought for a moment, we'll come back to it. We then asked, what is the most important factor for you in terms of career progression? And almost 90% said that it was about professional development. We then asked what was the most important factor in your professional development, and the number one choice was new challenges. Other things included professional accreditation and in-house training courses. So professional development really means learning new things and being given new challenges. If you go back to my question at the start of this slide about whether people are ambitious for their careers and why they would take a step down for other things, my belief is that people are more interested in new challenges and change than they are in traditional career progression or simply getting a more senior job title. And as an employer, we believe there is an opportunity for you in this point. Traditionally, we all think of career progression as promotion and the things that go along with it: status, bigger budgets, seniority in the hierarchy, and usually more money. An alternative, and I think a very healthy one, is that career progression can mainly be about change in role or department or location or division. Introducing variety into people's jobs, like job swaps in the same department, giving them new challenges and new projects. For example, we have clients that rotate people into new roles proactively, like taking the accounts payable person and retraining them in payroll. That can result in that person staying in your company longer than a promotion role. People will be more motivated, retention improves, succession planning becomes easier, and potentially there are actually fewer salary increases as a result. So how else can you stand out? Let's take a look at the important factors affecting benefits. In the survey, work-life balance was one area that was flagged as most important to job satisfaction and a clear opportunity for employers. 60% of people surveyed in our What People Want guide said that they would take a reduction in compensation, seniority level, and benefits for 2 more weeks of vacation. 75% of people are unwilling to accept a new role with less vacation, and that matches up to what we're seeing every day. It's actually very rare that somebody will accept a role with less vacation. It simply beats everything else pretty much every time. 45% are unwilling to give up flexible working options, which means they're important, but they're not seen as important as vacation. We also asked the same question about health and dental benefits, and 60% are unwilling to take a reduction in their benefits plan. Again, vacation beats it. So vacation is the most influential benefit. In this year's salary guide, we asked which benefit employers intended to add this year. Actually, flexible hours was the most common, and that's a great move, and we'll come on to that again in a moment. But we would argue that an increase in vacation time could have an even greater impact, and improving work-life balance, especially if you're still only offering the 2 weeks federal minimum for annual leave for new hires, could make a real difference in terms of hiring and subsequently retention. Looking at benefits in a little bit more detail, we've talked about how you target what you've got to offer in terms of attracting candidates. I think your benefits package is clearly one of the best ways to stand out. we asked employees what benefits were most valuable to them, and these are the top 5. So vacation, performance bonuses, pension, RRSP support, training and development, and flexible work hours. The top benefit is always vacation. As we said, we know from experience placing candidates that more vacation time is the only benefit that would actually make people accept a lower salary in reality. Anyway, these represent opportunities for you to stand out and offer candidates what they actually want. But how many employers are actually offering these? Only 56% of employers offer more than 2 weeks vacation to new hires. Just under half of employers offer bonuses. 52% offer pension or RRSP support. We've already talked about the importance of training and development, yet only 47% of employers include it in their package. And finally, flexible work options, which 49% of employers have. So these are all opportunities. If you can offer more than one of these, then the chances are you'll actually do better than your competitors. So let's look at what employers say they're actually planning to add to their benefits for 2017. Ranked in order of popularity, these are the benefits that employers are looking to add this year. Employers are looking for ways to differentiate, and what is most interesting is that this list resembles the top one, so employers seem to know what is valuable to candidates. However, there is one piece missing. Training and development support is not in the top 5. In fact, it's not even in the top 10 of what employers plan to add next year. Less than 2% of employers say they're looking to add training and development to encourage attraction or retain talent. So if you're not training to get the skills you need, and you're not training to address productivity issues, and you don't include training in your benefits as a recruitment or retention tool, then you could well be missing out on a very important opportunity. I think one barrier is that people do see training as an expensive exercise, but elements of your learning and development strategy can be delivered at relatively low cost. Yes, you can bring in external trainers or organize lunch and learns, set up internal mentorship programs to help pass knowledge on in your business, offer time off for employees to pursue their own studies, or in investing in a membership to an online training program. There are lots of ways that you can offer training, no matter your company's size or budget, but you do need some sort of response to what employees are asking for when they're looking to decide which job offer to take or whether to stay with the company. And finally, let's talk about company culture and reputation. The way we view these are that your company culture matters for retention, and your company reputation matters more for recruitment. Now, these two obviously overlap, but your reputation does not necessarily reflect your culture, which can mean you attract candidates who won't be the right fit for your organization. Your company culture is about the core values and daily work environment, and it's something that can be overlooked, particularly when we're looking to recruit people, but also in retention. We know from 7 years of salary guide surveys that the #1 reason for leaving a job or for letting somebody go is personality fit. But what does that really mean? And we did a deep dive last year, and we surveyed 4,000 Canadian employers and employees, and we produced a series of reports called the Fit Series. And within that, 65% of employers said that hiring someone who was the wrong fit negatively affects productivity, but they also quantified it, and over 30% estimated the cost of making the wrong hire to be up to $30,000, and 10% of the people we surveyed said that the impact on their business was over $100,000. That's just hiring the wrong person because they weren't the right fit for your organization. Despite this, half of employers have hired someone they knew was not the right fit, whether this was a panic hire, just getting somebody to fill a seat, or whether the right people weren't involved in the recruitment decision. And this is another aspect where you have to align fit in your business to improve both recruitment and retention. Because if you can hire someone who is the right fit, you're less likely to let them go, they're more likely to stay, you're not hiring as often. And the best way to do this is to know what your ideal fit looks like and include that in the interview process. And if you would like more information on this particular report, you can contact me afterwards and get a copy of our fit reports. And when we go back to looking at the results from our What People Want report, about a fifth of the decision to stay in a company is based on culture, and a sixth of the decision to accept a job offer is based on it. And this makes sense. You know more, good or bad, about a company culture when you're working in it. So how can you influence what candidates know about your company culture? How do you improve or align your reputation? Do candidates know why it's good to work for you? We see three elements that fit together to answer this question. Firstly, it's important that you can identify your employee value proposition. Secondly, there's a need to create a consistent brand. And lastly, you actually need to get noticed in the very competitive marketplace to attract the best talent. Firstly, your employer value proposition, and this is what sets you apart as an employer. For example, at Hays, we talk about growth, reward, and fun, and these are key tenets of working here at Hays. We talk to a lot of companies who kind of know what their value proposition is, but can't necessarily articulate it, or can't articulate it consistently across the organization. Further, they may have an employee value proposition, but they don't know how to articulate it externally. Then you need to build your brand around the value proposition, and we do this by providing real-life examples of how people achieve growth, get rewarded, and have fun. We do this by sharing stories about people moving to new jobs within Hays or taking on new projects within the company. We talk about awards and contests that consultants have won and events both in and outside of the office. And finally, you need to get noticed. Share good news on the channels where your candidates will be, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Have your employees share it, because great people often know great people. If you have any specific questions about this, we do offer digital recruitment sessions where we can talk you through some examples of best practice from our clients. As I said earlier, it's important to look at what people want, what different individual people want. This isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, and to build on that point, we're going to take a look at a few of the differences between some of the groups that we surveyed. So we'll start with human resources, and what do human resource professionals really want. They, as a group, you are less likely to take a reduction in seniority for your ideal job, or indeed a reduction in salary. The most desired benefit is working from home. Good news that 58% of the HR community we surveyed said they were happy in their current role, and that's significantly more than the overall average. And as I said, 23% higher than the average overall. 83% want to reach a management position or above, and again, that's higher than the group that we surveyed nationally. So the message here is that HR professionals want career progression, the ability to work from home. So if you're looking to attract people to your team, those are two areas to look at. They're also more likely to be happy, which is great news for retention, but may make it harder to tempt people away from their current positions if you're trying to attract the best HR talent. Then we looked at the accounting and finance profession, and it was about the same as average for the people who would take a reduction in seniority or salary. Most desired benefit, flexible working hours. We had 43% who said they were happy, and that's less than the average overall, so that could be a retention challenge for people's back offices. 80% wanted to reach management or above, which is slightly higher than the average across all discipline surveys. So your accounting teams may not be satisfied in their work. Maybe we're checking in with them, and also bearing in mind that they're most likely to be looking for flexible working hours, if that's at all practical within your own business. Next, we had a look at IT teams. They are much less likely to take a reduction in seniority, but interesting, they're on a path for openness to taking a reduction in salary for their ideal job. Their most desired benefit is to work from home, which could fit very well into a lot of IT professionals' work. 53% are happy, that's more than the national average, and 64% are looking to reach management, which is less than the average overall. So IT professionals are less likely to aim for management than the overall average. There's a lot of potential in IT that doesn't necessarily include management or increasing your position in the hierarchy, whether that's use of latest technology, working on complex leading-edge projects. So your IT team may be separating their ambition from their job title or management status, as we discussed previously. So for IT professionals, the ability to work from home, most are happy, so that's good for retention, but means they may not be actively looking for a new position if you're actually looking to hire in that area. And lastly, looked at construction and then property. So in construction, they are more likely to take a reduction in seniority for their ideal job and about average for whether they'd reduce salary. The main benefit in construction professionals was pension matching. Now, this was actually consistently in the top 3, so whether you're looking in construction, IT, HR, or across any discipline, if you're looking for a real differentiator in the market, RRSP or pension matching would be a great addition to your offering. Within construction, 50% are happy, that's slightly higher than the national average. 78% want to reach a management position, and that's on about a par with the market overall. And as I said, lastly, we'll take a look at property. It's very similar to the construction industry. Actually, property professionals are more likely to take a reduction in seniority for their ideal job. They're about average for whether they would reduce salary, and also as with construction professionals, the main benefit they want is pension matching. 42% are happy, which is actually lower than the average. 74% want to reach a management position, which is on about a par. So within the property area, retention may well be an issue, and it also could be an opportunity if you're looking to hire in that area, particularly if you can offer something like pension matching, for example. That's just a snapshot from the What People Want guide. There are actually 7 more disciplines that we break out survey data from in the guide if you're interested in other roles that impact on your business. So to conclude, review of the key findings from the What People Want report. Compensation clearly is the single biggest factor, and again, as you said, that's no surprise, but it's worth balancing that by saying that the right combination of benefits, the opportunity to progress in one's career, which is not necessarily going up the ladder in terms of career title, and company culture will outweigh salary. And career progression is rated very highly, and within that, professional development is the most important aspect of career progression. So learning and development plays a very big part, creating new opportunities for people to learn new skills and get involved in different parts of a business. Benefits that support employees' personal life and well-being are especially valued, and culture fit is a crucial retention tool. Some employers overlook this in the recruitment stage as much as they overlook it in the retention stage. So our recommendations, as we said a couple of times, only one company can pay the most. So employers must be able to compete or prepared to compete beyond the base salary. Now, that could be offering performance-related bonuses that align payroll costs to business results. Alternatively, it's looking at all of the other aspects that go to make up what's on offer. It's important that career path options are clearly communicated, But the career path, as we've discussed, is not necessarily about moving up the hierarchy in a business. It could be moving sideways, and it's as important, if not more important, that there are opportunities for variety and also for learning new skills. And employers can stand out by offering more than one of the top 5 most desired benefits. We talk about vacation, bonus, pension matching, training and development, and working from home and flexible hours. And as a package, they can weigh up to a considerable influence in determining whether somebody is going to take their next job with your business or whether they're going to stay with you rather than take the opportunity with someone else. So those are the key messages that we wanted to share today. Thank you very much for dialing in. I hope you found it useful. And to request a copy of the full What People Want report, or indeed any of the reports referenced today, please go to hays.ca/research. Now, we do have, I believe, a couple of minutes to have a look at, see if we've got any questions. So I'll just have a quick look and see if there are any online now. Okay, so we do have a couple just to finish off with a few minutes. So we one of the questions was we screen candidates by phone before in-person interviews. How can I get a better idea of culture or team fit before referring candidates to the line manager? And my guess would this will be an internal recruitment, somebody working in internal recruitment or HR function. And it's a great question. It's difficult if you're not actually meeting people face to face. But whether it's over the phone or indeed face to face, the important thing first is to actually understand clearly what it is that is the right fit for your culture, and also looking not just at what is the right fit for the organisation culture, but what is right for that team. And I mentioned the fit reports that that we've been running over the last year or so, and there's some useful pointers in that that lead to questions around the hiring manager identifying what exactly are the competencies, not just the technical skills that somebody's going to need to be successful in that team. And it's looking at not only the people that have been successful in that team, but also what you need now in your team, because most teams do not require a cookie-cutter approach to what makes the best person. A team necessarily needs a balance of talent and skills. And so what we encourage is to drill down into hiring managers' expectations around culture fit and being clear on the competencies that are right for them at that moment in time. And as I said, it is difficult by phone rather than in person, but even over phone, if the questions are geared around personal competencies and building evidence of why somebody might fit into your culture, you're much likely to get a better result. And the second question we had was, we offer a lot of the benefits discussed, but don't think candidates are necessarily aware of them. And the question is, how do we make sure that our target candidates are aware of what we have to offer? It's a great question. And there are a lot of companies that invest a lot of time and effort and consequently money into the development of their careers page on their website, on what they do on LinkedIn and the kind of information they share. But the majority of businesses that we talk to are not necessarily making the most of the tools they've got available to communicate those messages. As I said, firstly, it's understanding what your employee value proposition actually is. And that's not necessarily built around your benefits, but benefits are most likely to be a component part of that. And then it's about having a dialogue with your target audience, not just about the job that you want to recruit them for, but also the message about what you're like as an employer, what's the experience that somebody is going to gain when they're with your business, and what does the career path or career progression look like when they're there. And as I said, we run sessions on digital recruitment for our clients. If anyone's interested, feel free to drop us a line. which looks at how you package that message using all the tools available to you, and that will include your own company website, but increasingly it's more and more how you use social media to engage, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's Facebook, whether it's using YouTube videos. It's about creating a story that engages your audience, and that's the kind of thing that can really set employers apart when it comes to things not just like their benefits, but their employer value proposition as a whole. So that's it. We had those are the questions. Thank you very much for joining us today. This recording this webinar, if you didn't make all of it, is available on our website, and as I said, the reports are available to download from hays.ca. Thank you very much for joining us.